Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another week of BlastCast. Once again, with me is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon, and of course, this week we had some little juicy tidbits that came out.
We're going to start surprising amount of information.
Yeah.
We were thinking there was going to be nothing.
Yeah. It kind of came out at the 0 hour, so to speak, as far as the weekly updates go. But let's start with Around the Verse, which was actually kind of a different program. What they did is they had a man named Britton Watkins on. He's actually worked on films like Star Trek Into Darkness, teaching the actors to speak Klingon. He's our xenolinguistics expert for the game, designing our alien languages. And he spent time going through how the Vandul and the Xian, or Jean, they're actually both pronunciations are correct, and he explains why in there, how they speak, how they write. And yeah, for me, it was very interesting. I like the way that he came up with the writing, in particular for the Vandul, since they are basically have three claws. He basically,
no thumbs.
Yeah, and he had taken he basically had bound up his fingers and attached claws to the end of them to kind of draw into like aluminum foil to create shapes of how basically their hand movements would be based upon their digits, and then created languages or written languages based off of that. And looking at something like this now, about 16 years, actually 17 years now. Boy, that's actually 18 years now. I lived in Japan, and having studied foreign languages, I can tell you what, studying a language is one thing, but creating a language from scratch, then learning it, and then having to come up with the sounds of it and everything, and building it around the history that the lore makers provide and things like that. I can't even imagine a task that monumental, but it seems to be very, very he seems to be built for this. He speaks, so what's that language, Lightning, the one from Avatar?
Oh, I remember what it was. It was Navi something.
Navi or something?
Like Navi is like the people.
Okay.
And it's a slightly different word. It sounds like it's a slurring of the word Navi is their language, but yeah, apparently he learned it.
Yeah, he speaks it fluently, so that's very interesting. I mean, the how adept he is at this. So they showed some scenes with Andy Serkis and whatnot acting out. And they said also that with the Vandul how their language is not only based on the sounds, but it's based on their emotions and their lights, their
bioluminescence.
Their bioluminescence, yeah. So all that comes together.
Say that word 10 times fast.
Exactly. They said that when it came to the motions, the actual movement of the Vandul, they left that part up to the actors to come up with how that was interpreted or brought into the language, and then they used that as a study to create consistency within the language itself. And then they showed how basically they would take these. Going back to their handwriting real quick, they took the shapes they had made and how they updated them, and how you would, like, kind of like the same way we have fonts. They basically said, okay, here's the handwritten font and here's a typewritten font, and it showed how those developed, and that was just so interesting because they did that with the Xian as well, and they said that it's Xian and it's Jean as well, because the Xian spend 30 years of their life in the military. Now, when they're in the military, they speak a different dialect, and the dialect is he attributed it to more of being in the South, the whole y'all and stuff like that. And once they move on past that point in their life, they use a more formal. So while in the military, they may call their race the Jean, but if they're out after that time period in their society, they might say they're Xian. So I thought that was very interesting because not only did he have to create a language, but he had to create double pronunciations on some words that had the exact same meaning. They're spelled the same, but they sound completely different to our ears, but they're actually just different pronunciations. And that's, like, ooh, tell you what, awesome stuff. So if you haven't seen that yet, definitely recommend checking it out. Of course, they gave us some updates to the subscribers to the Cutlass and how it's been coming along. And of course, those pictures came out in Reddit like 30 seconds after they went up in the subscriber feed.
It's kind of like, oh no, why'd they do that? But Chris has stated himself
not a big deal.
That anyone who's a subscriber is welcome to share that stuff.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, subscribers get it early. If you want to share it, you can. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Yeah, I want to see everyone
get that stuff.
There's
there that you don't even see half the stuff. It's just like, oh, this is really interesting. Like there's really early concept art that you don't see. I mean, you could Google it, but the odds of you actually finding it are not there. I mean, you've shown me some stuff because you've been a subscriber for forever, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's tons of stuff that you don't see because the value that's placed on it's more important to certain people than others. And obviously, the new Cutlass stuff is very important to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at this, I mean, the first set of images I'm going to show here is kind of an external gray box without any real textures. Actually, a white box, probably a better term.
And it's white box.
Yeah, and so I always do that between gray box and white box. I don't know why. It's like 1, 2, 5, 3, sir. So basically, the size has increased massively. When you look at the scale of the human being that you have underneath the chassis, it looks a lot closer now to the scale of an actual freelancer. The whole thing has gone up in size, but it's also gone up in firepower. And the one they're showing is for the black, and it looks remarkably a lot more like the actual initial concept art that they had come up with when it was actually promoted to be sold as a ship. So they've actually, I'd say it's damn close. And I think Cutlass owners, and my brother in particular, are going to be extremely happy about this.
I almost feel bad not having any more.
I
traded my Cutlass up for a Taurus, so it's like I'm sure the Taurus is still going to haul more.
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't lose out on that. Otherwise, I will be a little bit upset if it hauls the same. That'd be kind of stupid.
No, your Taurus will probably still haul way more. But the thing is that your Taurus revamp's coming down the line. But
I don't care about the model. It's just like the cargo is like, I mean, if it carries more cargo, then that's what I wanted it for. So
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that the Taurus will still carry more. But this ship, to me, some people may be upset. It looks like it's about 20% bigger. They might be upset at the increase in the size, but it looks sturdier. When I look at the design of this, I'm going to go ahead and show you the. There's a picture we have here. It's actually the gray box with the textures on it, kind of. And when you look
like
at
some first pass textures.
Oh yeah, and when you look at this, it is, to me, it looks like it was designed all at once. The original Cutlass had this feeling of, we designed a neck, we designed some engines, we designed a body, and it had the Hornet kind of thing going on, where basically they had different parts kind of stuck together. And looking at this new one now, it looks like the whole thing could have been chiseled out of wood, or a single block of wood, meaning it just has this feeling of consistency, uniformity, connectivity. It looks like a whole unit. It looks like it was built like this from the ground up. It is great. Even on the interior pictures here that they have, they're going to see 4 bunks here. I guess what the developer said it's actually 2. I guess that's
there are 4 bunks. Sorry.
Oh goodness gravy. And of course you can see that the ramp's big enough in the back that you can actually get the dragonfly out of the back. I don't have the brain for it there. So,
yes, dragonfly.
And the side doors coming out. I mean, it looks so much like the concept. It looks a little bit bigger, but honestly,
it looks like the cockpit is going to be double deck. I'd be interested to see if you had like a lower seat was like a gunner seat. You could have, like, let's say that all 4 of the new guns are gimbaled, right? And when you're in that lower seat, you get direct control of all the gimbaled weapons. Direct control. Don't let the pilot control them. I mean, that's a different argument altogether. Anyway.
I'm a firm believer of the Rio seat operator.
Yes, if you had a dedicated gunner seat or other systems, right? And then you have a dedicated turret gunner who can obviously shoot backwards. Have your dedicated pilot. Now, it does make it so you can have 1 extra for your max crew, but you could still technically fly it with 1 person because the gimbals would just be locked, hopefully, and the turret would just be locked, hopefully, which I think that's in the game currently, so that's not a hopefully. It's just something you can do.
To me, when I look at this design, I'm going to go back to the gray box here. When I look at this design...
Gray box or the white box?
No, go back to the gray box and show them the textures. So when I look at this, what it reminds me of is take what happened with the Control Plus Vanguard thing and go 180 degrees away from that. That's what this is. This says this is the concept that was shown. This is but better, and with the lines and with the sleekness that was in the concept right here. beautiful. I honestly love what they've done here. This is
I think
awesome.
It's a step in the right direction.
It's awesome, and I cannot give them enough credit on it. Wow. So
but they don't fall through at the very end.
Oh, I am jealous. I don't own one. My brother owns one. We try not to double up, and I am jealous. I'm looking forward to flying in this Cutlass Blue when it's all ready to go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
And the concept art is actually up to black, so you're going to get a little bit of variation between the red and the blue, obviously.
Yeah, and more guns.
I don't know if there's more guns on the blue.
I thought the blue had more guns. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think the blue had more guns. It had higher performance engines, and it might have had better standard weapons, like the starting weapons. Like if the black had the sucker punches like the Avenger does, then the blue just had regular weapons.
Either way, nice.
Yes.
So of course they had the Star Citizen Happy Hour this week, which is kind of a weird thing.
Weird name.
I know. I just kept thinking that. I was thinking that they're going to be maybe drinking when they're playing. Oh, I know.
That's what I first thought. I was like, oh no, Happy Hour. Are they going to be drunk cast? This is going to be awful. But no, they actually aren't.
Don't worry. We're never doing a drunk cast here.
No, we will never. I don't even really get drunk either. No, I've been wasted a few times.
No,
hangovers. I don't really get drunk.
No, it wasn't happened to me since I lived in Japan. So basically, there were some nuggets in there that kind of came out, and a lot of it has to do with ground combat and things like that.
They did touch a little bit on the Arena Commander, but just barely. A lot of it was a lot of good information. I went in there thinking, oh, they're just gonna be playing, guessing, but it actually was pretty good. I mean, if you don't want to watch it, because we're gonna basically tell you all the good part. We watch it and we read it, so you don't have to.
Exactly, because it was a little over an hour long.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
But one of the things I kind of like that they went into is the difference between heavy and light armor that they're intending and doing. Is that the light armor is fast on the ground, heavy armor is slow on the ground. But in space, heavy armor has more thrusters. So it's actually better in space than the light armor, which doesn't have as many thrusters or as powerful of thrusters. So that kind of creates a differentiation between the advantage.
It creates divergent game mechanics. What a concept.
Ooh, yeah, exactly.
I know.
And so I think that's really awesome because, on the ground there might be it could be a difference between like Mary Lou Retton doing gymnastics versus RoboCop doing gymnastics on the ground, and
you have 3 seconds to comply.
Exactly.
I know that's not RoboCop.
That's Ed 209. Come on, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be that kind of difference that basically the light armor, while intuitively might actually be better in the ground, just because you can move quicker.
You have to make sure you think twice before. Oh, do I want to go to EVA in this section? Like if there's a really big section of, let's use Arena Commander as an example. A really big section of the map where there's lots of EVA. A lot of the heavy armor guys might be camping out there, waiting for people to come out, and then just basically gunning them down because they're in heavy armor and you're in light armor, and you go into that EVA, become an easy target to shoot.
Yeah, so I think it'd be interesting to see how they work that out. Of course, the devs look like they agree with a lot of things, and I had definitely had this sentiment as well that Star Marine is too fast, movement's too fast, things like that. Stamina is being planned as well as breath. Running hard, possibly causing inaccuracy, which that definitely, absolutely.
I mean, that's what they've been talking about.
Yeah, running and gunning doesn't make any sense. I
mean, it makes sense when they say that this is what we're going to do, but it's like too many things. We just want to get the game out there and playable. And it's like, well, that makes sense. I mean, they've been pretty consistently doing baseline. It where as soon as something is ready, that's playable and stable, we get our hands on it and we get to play it. Right. It's not always the final version. I mean, no. Alpha testing.
No. And that's a big thing, damaged legs and arms, reducing accuracy or running speed, things like that. The whole dragging system of basically being wounded where someone can drag you and someone being down before they get killed. And of course, a whole tweak of the cover system.
That's planned, but it's just not ready yet.
Yeah, and a tweaking of the entire cover system, which I couldn't agree with more on that because we did a video on that. Basically, the only thing that was covered when I leaned out was my ankle. So
yeah, in the video they were talking about some of the vertical stuff. So there might be a problem with like crouching.
Yeah,
not crouching, but in cover. So you just take a cover behind the knee-high wall, But unlike in Gears of War, you're just standing there going, "Oh, hey, I'm in cover."
Yeah. Well, I hopefully when they're talking about that, they mean like I'm crouching behind a wall, I can lean up and over and look down because
that'd be nice too.
Because yeah, there was it didn't seem to work at all doing that way, and it would be nice to have that kind of ability. More physical weapons are planned, but they're not ready yet. And they're fixing a bug basically where the arms are absorbing way too much damage currently.
Yeah.
And of course, back to real quick to the Arena Commander thing. The AI is being worked on. So
yes, that was the one thing they talked about in the Arena Commander is that they touched on it just briefly. That basically that the AI is not what they want it to be right now, and they kind of have to go back and double check all this stuff, and there's going to be a lot of testing. It sounds like they're going to be doing Bocati testing on this, though I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of the testing done in-house before it goes to Evocati. So if you're a person of Evocati, which you probably already know all this stuff, you'll probably be expecting a 2.6.1 build that is going to have hopefully some of the fixes. It probably won't have Arena Commander fixes, but it sounds like they've got like radar fixes planned. Like the stealth mechanics are basically not working at all in the current version, and that's going to be looked at so that you can actually sneak around and just not be detected forever.
Yeah. If only we knew anyone who was Evocati. Okay, so the thing is that they have they're going to be working on, of course, the Arena Commander radar. I guess they're going to be doing some more tuning or working on it. Now, this is one of Lightning Dragon's notes, so I'm going to interrupt here. Did he mean the ground radar or the space radar on that?
He meant the ground radar.
Ground radar. Okay, great, because the ground radar gives away position way too easily.
That's basically what they were saying. Is the ground radar is not working at all like they planned.
Yeah.
And what they touched on was that like stealth right now. Basically, you can't be stealthy.
No, you can't. That's kills a huge amount of tactics.
One of the things they were talking about, which was nice, because heavy armor is not in the game right now, and it's going to be coming out probably in about 3.0. But there's one of the things is in 3.0, the entire character model or skeleton is actually getting overhauled. So you'll be able to wear, like, if you want a heavy chest piece, but you want like medium legs or like a light helmet, so you have like more visibility, because one of the things about the heavy helmet is it's going to have a very narrow cone of field, and possibly if you're wearing full set, maybe not possibly, but probably likely, wearing a full set of heavy armor, you actually won't be able to like crouch or go prone at all. You might be able to crouch, so you'll be limited in your ground movement. So you could like, equip medium armor or light armor to kind of suit your play style, and even further down the line, they're talking about like resistances, like if you want like heat resistance and like plasma resistance or physical resistance. And this is even tying into ships as well. So like if your ship doesn't have a lot of like thermal resistance, that you won't be able to fly very close to like a sun or a star or things like that, or even atmospheric things, like if you land on a planet and you don't have a lot of like acidic resistance or something, that you can't stay on the planet for very long. So there's a lot of stuff that's planned for armor. And even weapons too. There's going to be like heavy weapons. I did finger quotes in the air for that. But they have like a railgun as planned, so that, because like right now, if a ship attacks a player, the player just gets vaporized. And I don't think that's going to change. But they are adding bigger weapons. I mean, there might be handheld rocket launchers, like Halo style, where you can still combat against a ship. Now, you're still going to be a little squishy person, but you'll be able to at least like make them think twice about attacking you. Like, oh, there's people in cover here, and they're flanking me, and the shields are actually like fluctuating, so you might not want to like go and attack that place, or you might want to come back and put boots on the ground, like a option.
Yeah, it's like Grand Theft Auto. Someone gets a helicopter, you got the tracking rocket launcher. They're going to think twice about swinging around again if they've already managed to dodge one shot.
Yeah.
Also, as well, you see here you have note that they're talking about adding coloring and decals to armor. That's going to be coming up.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be awesome. I don't know if those decals are going to be from a set of stencils initially, or there's going to be some sort of authentication process for anything you want to submit to be used. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they did make a joke how they had a My Little Pony armor setup.
Ooh, must have. 2017 My Little Pony armor Star Citizen. You're here first, folks. My Little Armor. So yeah, pink, absolutely. That's the future of Battleground camouflage. So yeah, basically you have here that it takes about a month to make one weapon for them. That's why it's taking so long for each weapon or new weapon to come out, because every one of them takes about a month to put together.
Yeah,
test.
between 3 weeks and a month just to make a gun.
That's impressive.
So like there's like sniper rifles are planned, more shotguns. I think they talked about some heavier weapons. I want to say a Gatling gun, but I don't think that's what it was. And also different types of guns, like plasma, physical, laser. There's all these things planned, and it just takes a while to build all these weapons out. So there's a lot of this stuff planned, but they talk about the pipeline. And it's like this is in here, then this is in here, and they're all in queue to be made, but it just takes so long to make them. That's why we're not seeing a lot of combat.
Well, and the developers are talking about, like right now with the pacing of Star Marine, is basically that they want to have it in such a way that, okay, right now it's Call of Duty, and what they would like to see is, in the sense of pacing, respawns and things like that. What they would like to see is something more along the lines of Counter-Strike. They think that if you had a no respawn kind of battle, that you would see people play entirely different. And I would tend to agree. And frankly, honestly, I would like to see a mode like that, very much like Counter-Strike, where you just have one death, you have to wait till the next round is over. Because I think with that, if they fix the radar and the stealth mechanics, you're going to see, I think,
massively different gameplay.
Right. I think you're going to see closer to what people would actually do in the persistent universe if you had a situation like that. Because if you know that you die and you're out, that's going to change the entire way that people play across the board.
Not only are they going to be slowing down the gameplay, you had one life to live. There's more incentive. So not only are you slower, but you also, if you get killed, you're dead. You're out. And you might just think, I'll just take heavy armor. Well, yeah, you can take heavy armor, but then you're slower. So if your team rushes ahead without you, you're by yourself, and they can, light or medium armor will just surround you and kill you. And so it doesn't matter if you had heavy armor or not.
What it's going to require in a situation like that is actually team coordination and tactics. You're not going to want to leave someone behind. You're not going to want to go ahead and just run down hallways screaming and hoping for the best. Of course, a lot of players will, I think, do exactly that.
But I mean, that's the internet,
die quick.
though. I mean,
yeah.
that's going to happen no matter what game you're playing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff coming down the line, and there's still a lot of things coming in, not only with Star Marine and Arena Commander, but just generally speaking with the game itself. There's a lot of technology when it comes to the ship components. There's a lot of technology when it comes to the ground components that are not in place yet, are still in development. And what we have right now is a baseline for both things. And one thing I want to bring up quickly before we draw this to a close, there's been a lot of discussion on the Arena Commander forums about how the skill ceiling has been lowered by the changes in the flight mechanics. And to an extent, that's not incorrect. But what I think is going on is it's a twofold problem. One is still IM, because now with slower maneuvering and maneuverability, IM is even more potent than ever. You can just keep your cursor pretty much right on the target and just kill them. The other thing as well is that what I think they were trying to do, they were trying to lower the skill floor, basically make it easier to enter. It wasn't their intention to drop the skill ceiling, but by lowering the skill floor, they've established, I think, what they want for an entry-level baseline of piloting and maneuverability, and now they just have to find ways, aka gunnery, to get the skill ceiling back up. So basically, you've got your person who just jumps in for the first time, and they're able to fly the craft. They won't fly into things and won't crash into things as easily. They'll
That's
do
why
better.
we need slower gameplay, and not slower as in
not necessarily speed of the ship, but it's a matter of pacing. It's rotations,
the slower pace of the game.
Yeah, the thing is that you have the right. They seem to have this aversion with this patch to having people slide or drift, but to me, that's where they're having some of their issues as well, because you're in space, you're going to slide, you're going to drift, and having too much acceleration on your thrusters, being able to basically fly like you're on rails, is going to give a very, well, in my opinion, even a more atmospheric than atmospheric flight model. Even in the atmosphere, you tend to slide and slip as you're making maneuvers and turning. There's all that in there, and if you have that completely negated by thrusters that are too powerful, you are very much flying. I would say something closer to X-wing. There was no drift or slide on X-wing.
No, there wasn't at all.
and-
Basically, where you pointed, you went.
Exactly. So that's kind of what you end up with is that kind of X-wing with strafing. So what they really need to do, I think, is give that sense of mass and inertia and drift back, because understanding and learning your vehicle, how it maneuvers, including how it drifts, I think is very important to really maximizing or becoming a master at the vehicle that you're using. And
which just goes back to the thing that we were talking about, where if you divide the ships up into two categories, a ship that's good at maneuvering and a ship that's good at going fast, acceleration,
right.
and you change that. So what you do is, let's say if you're new to the game, you're like, well, I'm really good at like twitchy gameplay. So it's like, well, you want to play a ship that's
Scout,
more
probably.
Well, a ship that's more maneuverable. We won't even specify it. Just a ship that's more maneuverable. Like a Gladius or an M50 or a 350R. But the problem is, like, right now the thruster values are just, thrusters need to be like 10 to 20% of the total power, and because you can just strafe left and right like it's no big deal. And one thing is, like, we don't want to get rid of the 6 degrees of freedom, because we want to be able to strafe. We want to be going up, down, left, right, forward, backwards.
Yeah.
That's all
straight
fine
down,
and
go
dandy.
straight up, VTOL kind of style.
But,
we want that.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't have unlimited movement, because otherwise it just turns into hummingbirds.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who didn't like 1.3, and there's some people who obviously did like it. But when you look at the actual play numbers from previous versions of Arena Commander, the consistent play amount of players, it hasn't been going up. And even though we've had more backers and come into the game, and more people having downloaded the clients, the sustained players going into that particular game mode aren't getting bigger. They're not growing the way they should. So there's still tweaks to be coming down the line. But hearing a lot of what they discussed today about the ground mechanics and a lot of the things that they're like, here's the base. We've got the base down. Here's your foundation. All that other fun stuff is still being built, and you're going to be seeing it as it comes online, and that's fine. And so I think we may see systems come online that will even deal with things like IM. In my opinion, they may even do automation coming down the road, just because of the fact that they don't have any of those systems in place to do any of that stuff really much at the moment. At least anything with depth and complexity, other than just being a fully automated system. If they want something with more depth, like tracking and systems and things, they need more of those pipelines up and running.
Yeah, the pipeline's definitely not in, but I mean, I would love to see this. And one of the things is, if they did this, the 2-seater variant of the Avenger?
Yes.
You know how they kind of made that, and they're like, oops, it's not supposed to have 2 seats. Made it. Well, if they went with the knee-jerk reaction, which some people want this, some people don't, and just make it so that if you don't have a Rio pilot or anything like that, if you don't have a second person in there, you don't have fixed, or you don't have gimbaled weapons, just flat out. If you don't have a second seat, you don't have gimbals. Those ships like,
hey, they're atmospheric too.
Basically the same thing, but no, ships like the Super Hornet,
yeah.
the trainer variant of the Avenger, if the Cutlass is going to have an optional Rio seat in the front that can control gimbals, ships like that, where you give the gimbals to a dedicated gunner, and then you have a person who flies. If they just split it flat out, that would help. I mean, IM mode is still not good, but I can see the argument of, if you just cut away that aspect of the game and you lock it to a seat, I could see the game improving by a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing we love in Grand Theft Auto 5 is that we take a helicopter out for missions all the time, and I'll be running the Rio turret.
And you obliterate everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a combination where together, when we work together, the helicopter is way more powerful than it is when you're just flying it by yourself. And so, it also lets you focus on flying, basically getting the helicopter into a safe position and pointing it in the right direction, where I will go ahead and deal with the targets in front of us. And that kind of lets you focus on your task, and I focus on my task. And that's what you see actually that they do in the military. Even the helicopters that have these gimbals, that you have the Rio seat operator who's doing the targeting while the pilot's just trying to keep them in the air. So anyway, guys, so that's this week's BlastCast. There's some really good stuff out there. And for me, I said
Probably
the
ran
highlight
on a little bit longer than intended.
yeah, but there was some good stuff in here, and I was really impressed with the language stuff. Having studied in a foreign country to study foreign languages, I was absolutely kind of just taken in by it. It was just very impressive to me, and I just found it utterly fascinating. I really did. So, all right, guys. Well, we will catch you next time, and I'll let Lightning sign off in his traditional way.
Bye bye.